At first glance, this scene may look like a routine work activity, but when we look closer, we begin to notice serious and potentially fatal risks. The worker is climbing a ladder to access a scaffold platform while carrying a bucket in one hand. This is a clear violation of the three-point contact rule. Any loss of balance at this height can result in a fall. The bucket being carried shifts the worker's center of gravity. A sudden slip or misstep could cause the worker to fall, while the drop tools may seriously injure people working below. This creates both fall hazards and struck-by hazards at the same time. Ladders are not designed for carrying loads. For material handling at height, hoisting systems, tool buckets with lifting lines, or mechanical lifting equipment must be used. Remember, in work at height, even a small mistake can turn into a life-threatening accident. Safety is not achieved by working faster, but by working the right way. In this scene, a pipe spool is being lifted and transported by a crane. But the real danger is not above, it's below. The worker is walking directly under a suspended load. This is one of the most critical and potentially fatal mistakes that can occur on an industrial site. Any failure in the lifting system, a sling slipping, a hook malfunction, or an unexpected crane movement, can cause the load to fall without warning. In such a situation, there is no time to escape. A worker standing beneath a suspended load is exposed to an immediate and deadly risk. Suspended loads must never be carried over people. Exclusion zones must be clearly defined, barriers must be installed, and unauthorized access must be strictly prevented. In lifting operations, danger is often silent, but the consequences are irreversible. Safety rules exist to prevent accidents that people believe will never happen. In this scene, a forklift is operating while a pedestrian worker is walking along the same route. At first glance, everything may appear normal, but this is a high-risk situation. The load carried by the forklift significantly restricts the operator's forward visibility. At the same time, the pedestrian is moving within the forklift's blind spot. A sudden maneuver or a brief moment of distraction could result in a crushing or struck-by accident. Additionally, pedestrian walkways and vehicle routes are not clearly separated. Warning signs may be present, but without physical barriers, the risk remains. Forklifts are quiet, powerful, and unforgiving. In the event of a collision, a pedestrian has little to no chance to react. Remember, pedestrian and vehicle traffic must be clearly segregated, unauthorized pedestrian access must be prevented, and all mobile equipment must be operated in a controlled and disciplined manner. Most workplace accidents do not happen suddenly. They happen when known risks are ignored. In this scene, a worker appears to be performing a task at height on a pipe rack. However, several serious and life-threatening hazards are present. Although the worker is wearing a safety harness, it is not properly connected to an approved anchorage point. In this condition, the harness provides only a false sense of security. At the same time, the worker is standing on an unstable surface while carrying a bucket filled with tools. This significantly increases the risk of loss of balance and falling. Any work at height must include controlled access, a stable working platform, collective protection measures, and a properly designed anchorage system. The presence of other workers below further escalates the risk. A fall, or even a dropped object, could result in fatal consequences. Remember, working at height is not just about wearing a harness. Without the correct system in place, every task becomes an invitation to an accident. In this scene, a worker is performing a task at height on a scaffold platform. However, the activity involves serious and unacceptable hazards. The worker is kneeling in an unstable position, and although wearing a safety harness, it is not connected to any lifeline or anchorage system. A slip or loss of balance here would result in an immediate fall. Loose tools left on the platform create an additional danger. For workers below, this represents a potentially fatal falling object hazard. The presence of personnel beneath the work area makes this situation even more critical. Uncontrolled work at height above others must never be allowed. Work at height requires proper anchorage, collective protection systems, tool tethering, and a strictly controlled exclusion zone. Remember, there is no margin for error at height. One step, one tool, or one moment of neglect can lead to disaster. In this scene, A worker is using a portable ladder to perform a task on a pipeline. However, several critical hazards are present. The worker is standing near the top of the ladder, violating the three-point contact rule. At the same time, he is trying to maintain balance while using hand tools. Ladders are not designed for prolonged work or tasks that require force. A small slip, ladder movement, or tool snag can cause a sudden and uncontrolled fall. In addition, tools used at height may fall, creating a serious injury or fatal risk for anyone working below. For this type of task, a stable work platform, scaffold, or mobile elevating work platform must be used. Ladders should be used only for access, not for work. Remember, ladder accidents often look minor, but their consequences can be life-changing. In this scene, a pipe section is being lifted by a crane, and a worker is attempting to guide the suspended load by hand. This is one of the most dangerous mistakes during lifting operations. Any sudden sling movement or equipment failure can cause the load to swing or rotate unexpectedly. The worker leaves no escape distance between himself and the suspended load. This creates a critical crushing and struck-by hazard with potentially fatal consequences. Load guidance must never be done by direct hand contact. Instead, tag lines should be used to control the load from a safe distance. The lifting area must be clearly barricaded and unauthorized access strictly prohibited. Remember, suspended loads do not forgive mistakes. One uncontrolled moment can turn into an irreversible accident. In this scene, we see an open excavation pit left exposed in the work area. There are no barriers, no covers, and no effective warning signs. For any worker passing nearby, this represents a serious fall hazard. Even more critical are the exposed reinforcing bars inside the pit, which could cause fatal impalement injuries in the event of a fall. The ground surface is uneven and visibility is limited. One small moment of distraction can lead to an irreversible accident. During excavation and groundworks, all openings must be secured with robust barriers, clearly marked with warning signs and covered whenever possible. Remember, most accidents are not caused by heavy machinery but by simple hazards that are ignored. In this scene, hot work is being performed while gas cylinders are left uncontrolled within the work area. Even though the cylinders are standing upright, they are not secured, their protective caps are missing, and they are positioned dangerously close to a source of sparks. During cutting operations, flying sparks can ignite leaked gas, leading to a fire or explosion. In addition, the contents of the cylinders are not clearly identified. This increases the risk of incorrect gas use, wrong connections, and uncontrolled pressure release. In hot work areas, gas cylinders must be stored in a designated safe zone, secured with chains, fitted with protective caps, and kept well away from ignition sources. Remember, gas cylinders are silent, but they do not forgive mistakes. One spark can set the entire site on fire. In this scene, a worker is sitting in an active industrial area, using a mobile phone in an unsuitable location. At first glance, this may seem harmless, but it involves several serious risks. Taking a break outside designated rest areas leaves workers exposed to moving equipment, vehicle traffic, and falling object hazards. Focusing on a mobile phone reduces situational awareness. Approaching forklifts, crane operations, or sudden site hazards may go completely unnoticed. In addition, using equipment such as drums as seating creates instability and increases the risk of falls and musculoskeletal injuries. On construction sites, breaks and communication activities must take place in clearly designated safe zones. Remember, accidents don't only happen while working. They also happen during moments of distraction. In this scene, a worker is handling an open electrical panel. The ground is wet, muddy, and electrical cables are exposed to water. Any action taken under these conditions poses a severe risk of electric shock, arc flash, and instant fatality. The worker is not wearing appropriate electrical protective equipment, and there is no indication that the power supply has been isolated. Wet ground dramatically reduces the body's electrical resistance. Even a small leakage current can result in fatal consequences. Work on electrical panels must only be performed by authorized and trained personnel, with the power fully isolated and proper lockout-tagout procedures in place. Remember, Electricity does not forgive mistakes. 1 second of negligence can cost a lifetime.